You've probably grown up believing that eating fish is one of the safest, healthiest choices you can make, especially after 60. It's supposed to protect your heart, sharpen your memory, and keep your body strong. But what if I told you that this safe choice could actually be quietly cutting years off your life? The shocking truth is that some of the most common fish people eat every week are loaded with hidden dangers. Dangers that rival, and in some cases even surpass, the risks of fast food. Now don't get me wrong, fish can be one of the best foods you'll ever put on your plate. But here's the conflict. Not all fish are created equal. Some act like medicine, fueling your body with vital nutrients, while others act like poison, slowly undermining your health with toxins, heavy metals, and inflammatory compounds. So let me ask you this. Do you really know which fish are protecting your brain and heart, and which ones are silently eroding them? Most people don't. And that gap in knowledge is costing far too many seniors their independence, their sharp memory, and even their longevity. That's why I created this video. As a physician with over 30 years of experience in geriatric medicine, I'm going to walk you through two lists you've likely never seen presented this way before. The 4 fish you must absolutely avoid if you value your long-term health, and the 4 fish so beneficial they deserve to be called nature's life-extending medicine. And trust me, you'll be surprised. Even the very first name on each list will challenge what you thought you knew about healthy eating. So here's my challenge to you. Watch until the very end, because each fish on this list builds on the last. Skip even one and you risk missing the most important key to protecting your health after 60. But before we dive in, I'd love to hear from you. What kind of fish do you eat most often in a week? Drop your answer in the comments below. You may be surprised to discover whether it lands in the best list or the worst. Let's begin with what I like to call the silent enemies hiding in our everyday meals. And believe me, right from the very first name, we're talking about a fish that millions of Americans eat every single week, completely unaware that it may be slowly damaging their memory and straining their heart over time. The first culprit? Imported Pangasius, also called Basa or swai, often coming from the Mekong River. On the surface it looks harmless, a white, tender fillet that's inexpensive and easy to find in buffets or quick-serve restaurants. People often choose it because it's low in fat and budget-friendly. But behind that cheap and cheerful image lies a troubling story. Here's the contradiction. While many assume it's a safe, lean source of protein, these fish are often raised in highly polluted waters. To keep them alive, farmers frequently rely on strong antibiotics, some of which are banned in the US. And traces of those chemicals don't just vanish. They end up in the flesh that makes it to your plate. From a medical standpoint, that's a real concern. Tests have found residues of industrial toxins like dioxins and heavy metals in Pangasius fillets. Over time, these compounds accumulate in your body, placing stress on the liver and kidneys, the very organs that, as we age, are already working harder to keep us healthy. One FDA report even found that imported Pangasius samples contained illegal antibiotic residues at levels up to 5 times the acceptable limit. Now think about that. For a younger person, the body might be able to detoxify and recover. But for someone in their 60s or beyond, weaker liver and kidney function means those toxins stick around, quietly raising the risk of high blood pressure, kidney disease, and metabolic problems. And that's just the beginning. Because while Pangasius is a warning sign of what happens with questionable imports, the next fish on our list is much closer to home. It's sitting right there on supermarket shelves across America, and it's dangerous for a completely different reason. I like to call it the silent thief of memory. Tuna has long been advertised as a clean, lean source of protein, the kind of food that looks like a safe bet for heart health. But for older adults, it can be more like a beautifully wrapped gift hiding a dangerous surprise inside. The bigger species, Albacore, Bigeye, even Bluefin, carry something you don't see on the label: dangerously high levels of mercury. Here's the contradiction. People buy tuna thinking it's helping their heart. And yes, tuna is low in fat and packs plenty of protein. But the larger, longer-living tuna accumulate mercury over decades of swimming at the top of the food chain. Every bite you take delivers a little more of that metal into your body. And unlike vitamins, mercury doesn't just wash away. It builds up silently, year after year. Science is very clear on what that means. Mercury attacks the nervous system. It can cause trembling hands, confusion, or lapses in memory that look so much like Alzheimer's. Many families don't realize the real culprit is coming from the kitchen. One Lancet study found that eating large tuna twice a week raised the risk of memory decline by nearly 70%. That's not a small number. I think of a 65-year-old patient of mine who ate canned albacore every single day for lunch. Over time, he noticed his hands shaking and his memory slipping. He feared the worst, that it was the onset of dementia. But after we tested his mercury levels and had him cut out the tuna, his symptoms eased within just 3 months. Now imagine this happening quietly to thousands of seniors who simply wanted a healthy meal. Picture forgetting your own child's phone number, not because of age, but because of the mercury hidden in a tuna sandwich. That's the part that keeps me up at night. And if you think mercury in tuna is already bad news, wait until you see the next fish on this list. Because this one doesn't just contain heavy metals, it carries a toxin so concerning the World Health Organization has issued repeated warnings about its dangers. The name itself sounds regal: king mackerel. You'd expect something majestic, maybe even the crown jewel of the seafood world. But the truth is far less glamorous. Among all the fish in the ocean, this one has earned a different title in my book: the king of toxins. Here's the contradiction. Smaller mackerel, like Atlantic or Spanish mackerel, are excellent choices, rich in omega-3s, and generally safe to eat. But king mackerel is an entirely different story. Because it grows larger and lives longer, it accumulates astonishing amounts of methylmercury, a form of mercury that's especially toxic to the brain and heart. And that's where the real danger lies. High levels of methylmercury don't just cloud memory or slow reflexes. They raise the risk of heart problems, even stroke, particularly in older adults whose cardiovascular systems are already more vulnerable. The numbers are alarming. The FDA has issued clear guidance. Pregnant women, young children, and seniors should avoid king mackerel completely. Not limit, not eat in moderation, but avoid altogether. And in a study conducted in Florida, researchers found that 84% of king mackerel samples tested exceeded the official safety threshold for mercury. Think about that. Nearly 9 out of 10 pieces carried more mercury than the body can safely handle. I once had a patient who loved ordering grilled king mackerel at upscale seafood restaurants. It felt like a healthy indulgence. But after a minor stroke at 68, he was shocked to learn that his blood mercury levels were nearly double the recommended safe limit. What he thought was a refined choice turned out to be a hidden trigger. It's sobering, isn't it? A fancy seafood dinner today might feel like a treat, but it could leave behind consequences far more lasting than the memory of the meal. Sometimes the most elegant name hides the most dangerous reality. And if you think that's unsettling, wait until you hear about the next fish. Unlike king mackerel, it's not exotic or rare. It's in everyday kitchens across America. Many people think it's a safe, affordable staple, but in reality, it's what I call the omega-6 trap that silently undermines health at the family dinner table. Tilapia. Cheap, easy to find, quick to cook. Some people even call it the chicken of the sea. On the surface, it seems like the perfect solution for a fast, budget-friendly dinner. But here's the part that shocks most people. This everyday fish may be quietly undermining your health in ways you'd never expect. The contradiction is striking. Tilapia has a reputation for being lean and low in fat, which makes it sound like a safe option for weight control and heart health. But when we look deeper, the picture changes. Farmed tilapia is loaded with omega-6 fatty acids, up to 10 times more than omega-3s. That imbalance matters. Omega-6 in excess doesn't nourish the body. It fans the flames of inflammation. And chronic inflammation is no small thing. It's the hidden driver behind heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, even Alzheimer's. For someone in their 60s or beyond, when the body is already fighting harder to stay balanced, eating a fish that spikes inflammation is like pouring fuel on a fire that's already smoldering. The science backs this up. A study from Wake Forest University made headlines when it revealed that eating farmed tilapia regularly could actually be worse for inflammation than eating a slab of fatty pork. That's not exactly the health food most people think they're choosing when they buy a pack of tilapia fillets from the freezer aisle. I've seen this play out with patients who thought they were making the safe choice by switching from red meat to tilapia. Over time, their cholesterol numbers didn't improve, their joint pain flared, and their energy dropped. Once we replaced tilapia with cleaner omega-3 rich fish, their inflammation markers began to settle down, and so did their symptoms. So the real question becomes, is saving a few dollars today worth sacrificing your health 10 years from now? Choosing tilapia might feel convenient in the moment, but the long-term price it demands from your body is far too high. And now we've reached an important turning point. We've walked through the 4 fish you should avoid, the hidden enemies of healthy aging. But don't worry. Coming up next, I'll share with you 4 medicine-like fish that can act as a shield for your brain, your heart, and your longevity. Now let's shift from warnings to hope. Because not all fish are bad. Some are like a hidden gold mine of nutrition, quietly protecting your heart, sharpening your memory, and even adding years of vitality to your life. Let's start with one of the most overlooked, sardines. Small, inexpensive, and often dismissed, yet they're truly the multivitamin of the sea. Just a small serving packs an impressive dose of omega-3s, those anti-inflammatory fats that keep your heart strong and your joints moving with ease. On top of that, sardines are loaded with vitamin D, B12, and calcium from their soft, edible bones. For older adults, that combination is priceless, since it directly supports bone health and guards against deficiencies that creep in with age. There's a reason entire cultures have thrived on sardines. Take the Mediterranean region, for example. People there eat sardines regularly. And the result? They have some of the lowest rates of heart disease in the world and enjoy some of the longest lifespans. It's no coincidence that the Mediterranean diet has been praised by doctors everywhere as one of the most powerful ways to live longer and healthier. I remember one of my patients, a 72-year-old gentleman, who used to eat tilapia because it was cheap and easy. But after learning about sardines, he made the switch to canned sardines packed in olive oil. 6 months later, his lab results showed something remarkable. His LDL, the bad cholesterol, had dropped significantly, and he told me he felt more energetic than he had in years. That's not magic, that's just the quiet power of better nutrition. If you're wondering where to start, keep it simple. Pick sardines packed in olive oil, with low sodium. Add them to a fresh salad. Mash them on whole grain toast, or pair them with roasted vegetables. Affordable, convenient, and yet they deliver the kind of nutrition no supplement pill can truly match. And if sardines are like a natural multivitamin, then the next fish is like having your very own nutritionist from the ocean, rich in protein, yet astonishingly low in toxins. Once upon a time, cod was the lifeline of British sailors, salted, dried, and carried across oceans to keep them alive on long voyages. Today, Pacific cod has found a new role. Not as survival food, but as one of the smartest choices for older adults who want to protect their health without giving up flavor. What makes cod so special? First, it's incredibly lean. Unlike heavier fish, Cod gives you high-quality protein without weighing you down with excess fat. That protein is essential as we age, because our muscles naturally shrink over time, and the only way to slow that process is by giving the body the building blocks it needs. Add to that a healthy dose of selenium, a trace mineral most people don't think about, yet it quietly works as one of the body's strongest antioxidants. Selenium helps fight oxidative stress, the very thing that accelerates aging and weakens the immune system. Science backs this up. A long-term study from Harvard followed adults who ate cod twice a week. The results were striking. Their risk of heart failure dropped by nearly 30%. Think about that for a moment. Not a drug, not a complicated treatment, just a simple shift in diet making a measurable difference in heart health. And cod is versatile. You don't need to drown it in butter or deep fry it to enjoy it. In fact, the best way is the simplest. Bake it with a squeeze of lemon, steam it gently with herbs, or pair it with a drizzle of olive oil and roasted vegetables. Light, clean, and nourishing. The kind of meal that leaves you feeling energized instead of sluggish. So while cod once carried sailors across the seas, today it carries with it something even more valuable. A promise of vitality, strength, and protection for aging hearts. And if cod is the quiet protector, the next fish is the shining star of Alaska. One that doesn't just shield your heart, but also slows the very process of cellular aging. Wild Alaskan salmon isn't just food. It's nature's version of a daily multivitamin, wrapped up in a delicious pink fillet. When you put it on your plate, you're not only eating a meal, you're giving your body one of the purest forms of natural medicine the ocean has to offer. The magic lies in its omega-3 content, the kind of healthy fat your brain and heart absolutely crave, especially after 60. These fatty acids keep your arteries flexible, lower inflammation, and nourish the very cells that control memory and mood. Alongside that comes vitamin D, a nutrient so many older adults are deficient in, especially if they don't get much sun. Salmon quietly fills that gap, strengthening bones and supporting immunity. And then there's astaxanthin, the deep red antioxidant that gives salmon its color. It's not just pigment. It's a powerhouse that slows cellular aging and protects against oxidative stress, the very process that makes us feel and look older than we are. The proof is written in the lives of people who eat it regularly. In Alaska, where wild salmon is a staple, the average lifespan stretches nearly 7 years longer than the U.S. average. That's not a coincidence. It's a direct reflection of what happens when nutrient-dense, clean foods are part of everyday life. But here's the important detail. Not all salmon is created equal. Farmed salmon often carries pollutants and far less omega-3. If you want the true benefits, always choose wild-caught Alaskan salmon. Yes, it might cost a bit more, but think of it as an investment. Not in tonight's dinner, but in the next decade of your health. Prepare it simply. Grilled with a brush of olive oil, baked with lemon and dill, or even poached gently for a soft, delicate flavor. However you cook it, wild salmon has a way of turning an ordinary meal into an act of self-care. And as remarkable as salmon is, there's one more fish waiting, often called the guardian of blood vessels. For anyone over 60, it may be the most underrated ally of all. Rainbow trout might not have the fame of salmon or the Mediterranean sparkle of sardines, but don't let its humble reputation fool you. This freshwater favorite has quietly earned a spot at the very top of the American Heart Association's list of recommended fish. And for good reason. It's naturally low in mercury, which makes it one of the safest options for older adults. That peace of mind alone is worth something. But beyond safety, rainbow trout delivers exactly what aging bodies need most: clean protein, steady energy from B vitamins, and a generous dose of omega-3 fatty acids that cushion the heart, calm inflammation, and keep brain cells communicating smoothly. Those tiny nutrients are like oil for the gears of memory and focus. Without them, things just don't run as well. Science backs this up. A study published in the Journal of Nutrition found that older adults who ate rainbow trout regularly showed measurable improvements in cognitive function, even in people over 65. Think about that for a moment. A simple meal could help protect your ability to remember conversations, stay sharp during daily tasks, or keep enjoying the books, puzzles, and stories that bring you joy. And the best part? Rainbow trout is incredibly versatile and mild, which makes it easy to prepare without much fuss. Steam it gently with herbs, roast it with lemon and garlic, or pair it with a bed of fresh greens for a light, nourishing dinner. It's the kind of meal that feels good while you're eating it and leaves you feeling even better the next morning. So when you're building your weekly menu, consider giving rainbow trout a place of honor. It's not just dinner. It's an investment in your mind, your heart, and your independence. And with that, we've walked through 4 of the very best fish you can put on your table. Together, they're not only capable of adding years to your life, but life to your years, keeping your mind clear, your energy steady, and your heart strong. So now you've seen both sides of the story. The 4 kinds of fish that can quietly steal years from your life, and the 4 that can help you stay sharp, keep your heart strong, and make the most of your health well into your 60s, 70s, and beyond. It's really not about giving up everything you love or following some complicated diet. It's about being just a little more intentional with the choices you make at the dinner table. Because here's the truth. At this stage of life, you don't need to overhaul your entire world to feel better. Sometimes all it takes is changing one plate, one meal, one habit. Imagine swapping out that can of tuna for a serving of sardines or wild salmon, or choosing rainbow trout instead of tilapia. These tiny adjustments may not feel like much in the moment, but over months and years, they add up to something powerful. A kind of invisible shield that protects your memory, your energy, and your independence for decades to come. And here's the beautiful part. Every time you make one of these choices, you're investing in your future self. You're giving yourself the gift of clarity, the gift of strength, the gift of time with the people you love. That's what real longevity is about. Not just the number of years, but the quality of them. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Out of the 8 fish we talked about today, which one surprised you the most? Maybe it was something you've been eating for years without thinking twice, or maybe it was a new option you hadn't considered before. Share your thoughts in the comments below. I do read them all, and I'll do my best to respond personally. And if this video gave you something valuable to think about, take a second to hit that like button and subscribe. Because there are so many more health secrets I can't wait to share with you. Insights that most doctors never take the time to explain, but that can truly change the way you age.